So far what we've been doing with the ping and the ARP request, we've been working on layer 2. So we were doing switching. We've not been doing any routing because routing is done on layer 3 at the network layer. So we can telnet, since we've given our switches an IP address, we should be able to telnet from the PC into the switch. So in order to check what the IP address of our switch was, of our VLAN was on the switch, let's show run in order to see the configuration that we've made on this switch. You can see the version. You can see all the interfaces of this switch. So yeah, interface VLAN. So this is the IP address that we gave to this VLAN on this switch. So let's go to PC1 and see if we can telnet into that. Telnet 192.168.1.10. Connection to this VLAN closed by foreign hosts. So we cannot telnet, we need to configure that. We can't telnet to it, but notice we can ping that switch. Yes, we can ping the switch, but we can't telnet to it because telnet allows us to remotely enter the switch in order to make some configuration changes. So we have not configured that. We need to do that. So how can we do that? Let's go back into our switch. Let's type again, show running config, to see the configuration that was made on this switch. You see the version, see the interfaces. So this is the IP address of this VLAN. This is what we are supposed to use to telnet or to remotely access this switch, but it's not possible. Why? So this is the console line. If you want to console into this switch using a console cable, this is another way of connecting to the switch. Now we are trying to use this VTY line, which is virtual telnet line for this switch. It has not been configured. We need to configure this. So from this configuration of this switch, we notice that it has not been configured yet. So we need to do that. So as we all know, for any configuration to be made, we need to go to leave the privilege mode to the global configuration mode. Now from the global configuration mode, let's check what type of command we have here. We're going to use this command line, configure a terminal line. So let's just type terminal line. What type of line do we want to configure? VTY line. VTY. Okay. Let's press. So VTY line. First line is we have this. The switch gives us up to 16 lines to telnet into it using VTY, using the virtual telnet. So we can have 15 different IPs to telnet to this switch. But from our configuration, it's recommended we use only 5, from 0 to 4. So that's what we're going to use here. So say 0 to 4. So now that we are ready to configure our 5 VTY lines, let's do this. What are the commands that are available for us here? So login, enable password checking. This is what we want. We want to enable password checking. So login. For the said login is disabled. For our 5 lines, login is disabled. We need to set password first. So let's do that. Password. Let's use our password as Cisco, for example. So yeah, the password is set. Now let's try telnet again. Now it's asking us to. It's giving the prompt password. I've used password as Cisco. Now I'm logged into the switch. Easy. So the reason why we are able to telnet and use a password is because we have first of all set an IP on the switch. Remember, this is because we have this already. That is why we are able to telnet after configuring the VTY lines. So notice that one thing, since we are here now, let's try to enable it, to go to privilege mode. They say no password is set. So that's because we haven't set password on here. So let's exit this. Come back, enable. Conf. So here, enable password Cisco. Type N. So let's come back here and try to enable. It prompts me for a password. Now I can go to the next mode, which is privileged exec mode, using that password. Can exit from here. Exit from here as well. So let's try again. Enable. It prompts for a password. So let's go to PC. Let's try to telnet. Basically, this is in the topology. We are on this PC and trying to connect to this switch without having to plug in a cable, without having to console into this PC. So we are in our office and this PC is in a different room. We're trying to connect into this PC, into this switch in order to configure it. So that's why we use telnet. So now telnet is set. You use Cisco password, enable, prompt password again, Cisco. Now we can configure. Now we are in the switch. We can do our configuration. Show IP interface brief. So you see, we can do the same command. We can perform the same command from this PC, just like we perform those commands on the CLI of the switch itself. So that's what telnet is used for. So we don't have to go to the switch itself to plug in a cable. We can do that remotely, and yeah, awesome. So in the real world, we are not using telnet. We rather use SSH because it's more secure. Because telnet is good for labbing, but in the real world, in enterprise level, we use SSH because that one is more secure and we cannot hack our passwords and all of that. So last thing we're going to do is copy running start config to save our work. Save our work on the PC. I mean, we've saved it for the switch because we were in the switch. We can do the same here. Yeah, now that's it.